Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to call to order the November 7th Lake Washington School Board meeting. Our president... Oh, sorry. We haven't got the live video over. There we go. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the November 7th Lake Washington School Board meeting. Our president is absent and excused. So as the first order of business, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Siri, seconded by Eric, that we approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So our host school this evening is ICS. Tracy?
Great. So we're very pleased this evening to have Dr. Greg Moncada, who is the principal at International Community School, here this evening with, it looks like, some special guests. So welcome, Greg. We're excited to hear all about ICS.
Thank you. Directors, Dr. Pierce, members of the board, faculty, staff, parents, students, it's my privilege to introduce to you the International Community School, otherwise known as ICS. Before we begin, I'd like to mention to the beautiful artwork that surrounds us today. It is from our grade 8 students. The images in the front are entitled the Four Temperament Project, and it's the students attempted to paint phlegmatic, choleric, sanguine, and melancholic moods using line and color. In the back, our eighth grade works by that are block prints, African block prints. Once again, they attempted to utilize animals and texture, color together to create patterns that would be similar found in African works. I'd also like to take this moment to thank the teacher who brought these to us. This is Melissa Nelson, as well as a host of volunteers who set them up. Last, I'd also like to provide a very special thanks to Michaela Spaeth and another host of volunteers who brought the wonderful international food to us tonight. The International School is possibly best known for its high levels of academic achievement. This year, we are considered to be one of the top schools in America, high schools in America. We're the third top high school in the state of Washington, and we have the privilege of being considered the 8th best STEM school in the nation. These forms of recognition are the outcome of what we do rather than any explicit intent to be recognized. Tonight, it is my hope to share with you how this is actually accomplished. What's important to note is if you ask teachers if they set out to help their students achieve their highest scores possible for these tests, these academic accolades, the teachers would to a person say absolutely not, no. In fact, they are the result of a clear sense of the Lake Washington School District mission and our very own ICS mission and core values. I'll take each in turn. The ICS mission is stated as the International Community School cultivates integrity, curiosity, complex reasoning, problem solving, global awareness in every student with a rigorous signature program of the arts and sciences, classic education, global application. For us, the key word is complex reasoning, which requires rigor, relevance, and student engagement. You will also note the term signature curriculum, which to us is known as the block. To more fully understand ICS and to focus on our efforts, we have developed a set of core values that help guide our practice to ensure the ICS and LWSD mission. While I could read to you all of our core values, I'd like to focus on 3. Our second core value takes to heart the notion of local to global action. Our fourth bullet speaks to our grades 6 through 12 continuous program, where the same teachers teach in both the middle school and high school levels. This creates enduring teacher and student relationships, while also ensures mastery at each level. And number 5 addresses the role of parent engagement in the culture of our school. My outcomes for us tonight are to more carefully explain the block, our enrichment programs, and parent engagement. Let's start with the block. The block is composed of 3 very carefully integrated curriculums. If the block is a tree, then think of the international studies as the trunk of the tree, and humanities and art as 2 large parallel branches. As international studies walks through a chronological arrangement of historical events starting from prehistory and going to modern times, humanities and art follow this chronology. Let's take a high-level view of the entire curriculum. Here's the block at a glance. From this high-level view, you can see how some of the major components are aligned. For example, taking a single year of our grade 9 students, they study Greeks and international studies while reading the Odyssey in humanities and studying Greek architecture and art. From this form of interrelatedness occurs every year. Though we teach more than just the block, and in order to graduate, our students must take a full complement of courses too. All of our courses are offered at the honors level. We can only offer 3 to 5 electives at any given time, so many of the electives you see here are offered on a rotating, on a year and off a year basis. This is an impressive number of offerings, and over time our students can experience a robust selection of classes, many at the college level. As I expressed before, academics alone do not make for a holistic program, nor do they provide the much needed sense of relevance and engagement that's so important to students here at ICS. I'll shift to enrichment programs that do just this. So here we go. Translating learning into action is done through creating leadership and enrichment opportunities for our students. I'll highlight a few of these that make our school unique. I'll talk about Camp and Summit, STAMP, clubs, and Focus Week. Now, camp is student-led. Our seniors and some juniors plan, prepare, and even teach our grades 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. It's not all fun and games, and some of the class offerings include information about how to study, how to use their planner, how to pack their backpack, and how to manage their laptop. With a psychologist present, students discuss middle school issues such as friendships, relationships, and bullying. Meanwhile, back at ICS, the summit is designed for our high school students, while the middle school students are at camp. During the summit, students truly act local and think global. All of the students attend a full day of service, and on other days, they plan for college using the Career Cruising program, learn from guest speakers about applying to a college, learn about bullying, drug and alcohol abuse, cybersecurity, gender issues, and diplomacy from the World Affairs Council. Student leadership continues throughout the year in a program we call STAMP. STAMP stands for Student Taught Academic Mentoring Program. STAMP leaders build relationships with our underclassmen and loop with them during their time with us at ICS. This provides a way for our middle school students to know and understand our program, have a big brother, big sister support, and for our upper class students, take on positive and directed leadership roles within the student body. We also offer a full range of clubs and enrichment programs. Each teacher is involved in at least one club, and many too. This allows our teachers to build relationships outside of our classroom, and it's a real manifestation of our core values where we believe in a well-rounded and engaged student body. Our parents are fully engaged too. Parents are encouraged to complete their volunteer time in an area of interest that they are passionate about. Focus Week offers international travel and hometown advantages. Focus Week is a week away from school, and it occurs in May each year. This program allows for teachers to design enrichment experiences beyond the classroom. Each year, we offer international, national, and local trips, and we go to some pretty exotic places. To more fully understand the student experience, let's meet this year's ASB class president, the accomplished and articulate Vishaka Nirmal. Vishaka?
As Dr. Moncada mentioned, my name is Vishaka Nirmal, and this is kind of my experience throughout ICS. and I just recently turned 18 years old. At the end of this school year, I can say that I've spent exactly 1/3 of my life at ICS. To me, this is not exactly a large feat. I witnessed my older sister graduate 2 years ago. I mention her partially because her presence at the school impacted mine as well, but also slightly because of sibling rivalry, to say that I completed this just as she did. Coming into 7th grade at the school, my sister had originally wanted to go to her home school, so when my turn came around and I received the news that I was accepted into ICS, I happily said yes. I mostly wanted to one-up my sister, but I think it would be quite an understatement to say that I wasn't expecting what I received throughout these 6 years. Of course, the intense workload and the core curriculum is flaunted throughout all the statistics of the school, and I've experienced this firsthand, and I can safely say that this is pretty accurate. Even in my last year here, I still feel surprised as I leave an art class learning about Impressionist artists, only to discuss Impressionist beliefs in my next humanities class. Apart from finding this cohesion pretty cool, I do have to mention how effective it has been. Students at the school are able to sit through intellectual discussions starting in middle school years. Although I wasn't able to identify these at the time, I can look back and recall grammar lessons from my first persuasive essay, intensive research for National History Day projects, and theorems and postulates for geometry. If you ask me about any of these topics, my memory might be a little fuzzy, but I can say that I remember these lessons. I attribute a large part of this to the teachers. I found that their passion is really what allows these to sit in my memory. I strongly believe that some of these passions, willingly or unwillingly, are passed on to the students as we sit in these classrooms. I can label many moments where I've experienced this passion firsthand, but the most striking example would have to be through my art teacher. When working on a competition that revolved around graphic design, I was working with a group to create a portfolio of promotional pieces. We knew that one of our teachers was interested in advertising and went in to talk to him about our pieces. He not only gave us great advice on our project, but also explained numerous things about graphic design. From his excitement to help on an extracurricular project, I became more interested in graphic design. And as a result of his passions, combined with my own interests, I now find myself working towards a career in graphic design and user interface. However, with just scholastic endeavors, I still don't believe that that's a holistic view of what our school represents. My first year as a 7th grader, as my sister was a sophomore, she was already making her impact along with many other upperclassmen. I had the privilege to have kids from her grade as my camp counselors and as student mentors in our STAMP program. From this point, I unknowingly was handed role models. I will admit that they were no superheroes, but seeing these students that were able to put their mark on the school influenced me to do the same. I wanted to make a similar influence on the culture at the school, but as I came back to sibling rivalry, I didn't want to achieve this through my sister. I started putting myself in positions that I previously would not have had the courage to go for. So I became involved throughout my grade, and I eventually found my way through leadership and service clubs. Although I can't say for myself whether I stand up along with all the students who inspired me, I can say that the culture at ICS has allowed me to become more impactful. I attribute my successful learning environment to the students at the school as well as the teachers. I cannot thank them enough for allowing me to grow throughout my time at ICS. I extend another thank you to the school board as well as the school district for allowing me to have this school as a possibility. I know that I would not be able to have the same experience that I did without the option of a choice school. So as I finish up my 6th year here, I know that I have become more passionate about learning and more influenced to impact those around me. And to me, that has been quite a successful 1/3 of my life.
Vishaka and I often greet students in the morning. We open the door and I have my coffee and we solve all the problems at the school as we greet each student. Thank you so very much, Vishaka. I appreciate your words. Moving on to parent engagement and the last component of what makes ICS unique. Our PTSA and parent volunteering is avid and strong. As part of our core values, student success requires a partnership of educators supported by families, and community. Our parents offer clubs, field trips. They get involved in site cleanup, the Legion of Broom, lunch duties, barbecue committees, grants, amazing support. We asked parents to support at least 30 hours per family per year, and they accomplished this in a plethora of creative and interesting ways. If you're wondering, and just before flu season, the Legion of Broom is when a large group of volunteers, parents, descend on our school at night and spray every doorknob, desktop, chair, and fixture with disinfectant. As I close, I realize that any one slide I presented tonight could have been a full presentation in and of itself. In truth, it is testament to the highly developed and unique expression that is ICS. In closing, I'd like to once again thank Melissa Nelson for providing the beautiful artwork and Michaela Spaeth and volunteers for providing the fantastic food tonight. I'd also like to take a moment to express my gratitude and thanks for the very hardworking PTSA board that we have. They are involved with us and work alongside us every day, every step of the way. Thank you very much.
Thanks again for an informative and sometimes breathtaking presentation. Someday I'll get to Tahiti. But it is always nice to see the kids enthused about school, and thank you for that, which actually brings us to the next agenda on our next item on our agenda, which is recognitions. I believe tonight's National Merit.
Yes, so we're excited because we've got 3 schools present tonight to award and help us recognize our National Merit semifinalists and commended scholars. So, Greg, I'll welcome you back up, and you're first on the list for International Community School this evening.
Now, I was busy when all of this was happening, so I would like for the ICS Merit semifinalist and our commended students to come right on up. And what you've got you were given a list of questions to answer. And so what I'd like for you to do is come on up and introduce yourself and tell us or answer those particular questions. They were, as I recall, what are your plans after college? What will your major be? And what was a fond memory of ICS? Okay, so name and all of those hard questions. So ICS students, both merit semifinalist and commended, come on up.
That's right. Go ahead and single file it and push all the way over. Here we go. Your parents want to be able to see you. There you go.
So as I mentioned before, my name is Vishaka Nirmal, and as I leave ICS, my hope is that I'm going to be into graphic design and user interface. So my major in college is most likely going to be either computer science or human-centered design. A fond memory that I have at ICS would have to be being a camp counselor this year and the previous year, as I got to be able to influence students, as I really enjoy doing.
Hi, my name's Kaden Chan. I'm not really sure what I want to do yet, but right now what I'm thinking about is journalism because I'm curious and I like to tell stories, so that's a major that I might be interested in college. A fond memory that I had at ICS was going to Tahiti and kissing a dolphin.
Hi, my name is Alex Kim. I think I'm probably going to go into engineering after high school. My favorite part of ICS would probably have to be going to Bermuda last year because it was fun. Yeah.
Okay, hey, my name's Adam Tazzi. So, fondest memory first. I hate to do a repeat, but being a camp counselor was awesome. It was really great working with the kids, and you get to build a lot of connections, and they talk to you in the hallways, and it's pretty awesome. And for after high school, I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely want to see if I can do something with physics, because physics is cool.
My name's Alicia. After high school, I want to do computer science in college, so we'll see how that turns out. And then my fondest memory at ICS would have to be going to FBLA Nationals with Vishaka.
Hi, my name's McKenna. I know that in college I want to study political science and then go to law school, and hopefully that will lead me somewhere. And my most fond memory from ICS might be being a camp counselor, and my most influential, perhaps, was my first mock trial.
Hi, I'm Irene Thomas. No idea what I'm going to do in college yet, but I might be a firefighter or I might be in debt. My fondest memory of ICS was, well, not my fondest memory, but in 10th grade, I visited Spain for Focus Week. And then the next year in art class, we started learning about all these artists that had like street art that we got to see in Spain. And it was just really cool being able to point out that I was there.
My name's Ayushi Kumar. After I get to college, I'm hoping to study biotechnology and go into research. And my fondest memory at ICS was actually graduation last year when I got to see all the seniors that I'd known for 5 years graduating and walking on that stage, and hopefully I'll be there soon.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kacharya. I'm going to study mechanical engineering in college. My fondest, memory, it's not really fond. I ate frog legs in France once. It was kind of gross, but it's interesting, I guess.
My name is Xander Thompson. After high school, I'm probably going to do something with political science, and my fondest memory was probably also camp, because I think that was a lot of fun teaching the kids and stuff.
My name is Viswanath Chatalapaka. I think I'm going to be a computer scientist after I go to college, and I guess I have to do a computer science major to become a computer scientist. And it's hard to find a fond memory at ICS because there are so many. And my fondest memory was probably hiking and Focus Week with Mr. Gibson because I like nature.
My name is Lexi Morozov, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with my life after school, but I'm thinking of getting a major probably in computer science or something. I think my fondest memory of ICS is being Code Club exec for this year. It's been a journey so far.
Yo, the name's Kartik Iyer. In college, I would like to study biology and medicine. I want to become a doctor when I grow up. One of my fondest dreams. One of the most fun activities we did at school was probably making movies for our humanities class. It was really fun. We tried to dress up in togas and stuff, and then we acted like Romans. It was great.
Thank you so much. And could all of the ICS parents who are here this evening please stand so we can recognize you as well? Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Moncada. We're very pleased that we have Dr. Beatty here as well, principal at Eastlake High School, who is here so we can recognize the Eastlake High School scholars. Welcome, Chris.
Okay. Okay. Check. Dr. Moncada.
Two's not enough.
Okay, if you're from Eastlake High School, come on up, please. We have 11 students to recognize. It looks like we have 4 here. The other 7 are probably really big Seahawks fans. So, same drill, where I'm going to hand you the microphone, and you are going to say the college you would like to attend, a possible major, and your most memorable educational moment. We good with that? All right, here we go.
All right, I'm James. I'm aiming to become a nuclear engineer after high school. Just finished my application at MIT. And my favorite educational experience is attending Harvard this summer.
Hi, I am Ryan Sadoff. I'm hoping to attend the University of California and major in biology or chemistry. And one of my favorite memories of high school is a trip to Disneyland with the band.
Hi, my name is Killian Pash. I want to go to USC, hopefully do something with biology and chemistry. And my favorite high school memory was starting my club where we play basketball with special needs kids, and doing that every week. It's my favorite thing to do and probably the best part of Eastlake for me.
Hi, my name is Sophia. My favorite memory at Eastlake is the Constitutional Convention we did in AP US History. I would like to be a doctor, and the university I want to attend is Northwestern.
Well, congratulations to you four. You make Eastlake look great. Thank you very much.
Well, before we turn to Lake Washington High School, we'd also like to recognize Eastlake High School parents who are here this evening. So if you're an Eastlake High School parent, could you please stand? That's great. Thank you, Chris. Last but certainly not least, we have Christina Thomas, principal of Lake Washington High School, here this evening to recognize Lake Washington High School students. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you. I have 3 commended scholars and 2 National Merit semifinalists with us tonight. One of our National Merit finalists, semifinalists had to go to the Seahawk game. His dad's a photographer. So can I have the Lake Washington High School students, please?
I'm Maya Crandall Malcolm. I'd like to attend Scripps or Wellesley and probably major in mathematics. I think my most memorable educational moment was when I was at math camp and studying with a bunch of the other girls there, and it just struck me that everyone there actually wanted to be there, and everyone there was super passionate about what we were doing, and I can't wait for that experience to get more common as I proceed into college.
I'm Andrew Palmer. I'm hoping to attend the University of Washington and major in computer science. And although there are many memorable things that happen during school, many of them aren't so great, but some fire involved. But I think that, I think maybe one of my more memorable educational experiences, it wasn't the class that taught me, but during AP Calculus AB, I sat in the back of the class and I kind of awed this person who sat next to me because I would kind of preempt my teacher's teaching, and he'd be like, "Whoa, how'd you know?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's obvious, man." Which was educational to me, that everyone knows a lot about something, but sometimes you don't realize how much you know until you talk to someone who knows about something else, but not about what you know. So that was very interesting to me.
I'm Anna Thomas, and I want to attend Lewis and Clark College. I don't really know what I want to major in yet, but I think my most memorable educational moment at Lake Washington was going to Costa Rica with my Spanish class and learning about the culture and the people there.
Hello, I'm Louis Nord. I would like to attend the University of Chicago, and I would like to major in history. And my most memorable educational moment would have to be my first mock trial of Genghis Khan.
I'm Jonathan Lincecum. I'm looking to study business management and accounting at the University of Southern California. And I think my most memorable educational experience is being Chairman Mao in a world history mock trial.
Thank you so much, Christina. Could we now have the Lake Washington High School parents who are here this evening stand so we can recognize you as well?
Well, as always, it's a pleasure to see the kids around National Merit Time. And I'm actually particularly pleased. Every year I sit up here and I have a little scorecard for how many STEM versus non-STEM majors there are. And I want to commend those of you who had the guts to say you don't know, because you're too young to really know for sure. Get out there, enjoy what you're trying, and if you don't enjoy it, try something else. Thanks so much. Usually at this point, the fact is that you guys are still in school, right? So after this, we know that you'll be up bright and early along with your administrators. So we're going to take maybe a 3 or 4 minute break. We'll resume at 7:35 for you guys to go home and get started on your homework. Thanks again for coming, and we really appreciate your performance. See him to give him a thumbs up, but we're back. Okay, great. So now we're on to the public comment section. On a monthly basis, we provide an opportunity for public comment. Public comment is a time for, it's part of our working meeting, so it's not really a dialogue. It's more for us to hear from the public. If you are looking for dialogue, there are many ways that one can dialogue with us, whether email, calls, or letters. The main thing to keep in mind is just don't address personnel issues by name, and our goal is to listen and to learn from you. But honestly, if you're giving us a 3-minute comment, it's always a good idea to also deliver it to us by email so that we've got it in writing and we can review it as well. So with that, when your name's called, please approach the central podium. Our mic is already live, so you don't have to fiddle with it. Just speak into the microphone, give your full name and school attendance area. You have a 3-minute time. The lovely little stoplight over there will go yellow when you've got 1 minute left. And then there will be a red light and a beep that signifies your 3 minutes are over. Your 3 minutes are over for this period. You can have another 3 minutes at the next board meeting where we have open comment. But honestly, we will take dialogue and do that with you offline through calls, emails, etc. So with that, I see that we have one person signed up to address the board. If there are others, they're welcome to. But Rodney Thornley, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Here's the written portion.
Thank you.
Understand me. All right, so my name's Rodney Thornley. I'm a teacher at Rose Hill Middle School. I've been teaching in the district since 1974 and at Rose Hill since 1977. I made a proposal to David Larson in September 2015 to create a coaching stipend for the district for junior high coaches, as well as a pay schedule for activity coordinators such as WTI, Honor Society, Robotics Club, and others, so they would get paid in September. Nowadays, they only get paid starting in October. The rationale for this was, if you're working in September, you should get paid for working in September. You should get paid for periods that you work, as far as the coaching stipends. You should know when you get paid. Last year, there's a mistake, and something happened, and the coaches weren't paid in September. They had to wait another month, and that second month, it doubles up your salary for that, and there's more taxes you have to pay. The opposition over the years has been, we're too busy to do this for the stipends in September because we're doing lane increases in educational advancements. I put out a solution that you could do it in the spring if people knew what they were doing. Another thing that came back was payroll the 10th of the month. If I start coaching like I start coaching basketball next Monday, it's the 14th, I missed that 10th. I coach basketball in November, I coach basketball December, I coach basketball in January. I don't get paid till December, then I get paid in January, and then I get paid in February, and I don't touch basketball in February. Why am I being paid in February? And this is not a new concern. I brought this to the district in 1986 and again in 2013, where they went to middle schools to junior highs and middle schools, and I thought that'd be a great time to change it. In 1986, they came up with a schedule, and they used it for several years, and for some reason, it just disappeared. In my packet I provided for you, I don't know if you got it, it has that schedule. So they did a great job, and they were doing it. So sometimes they would pay in September, sometimes they wouldn't. I mentioned about the basketball. I contacted David Larson last September. He told me to get a group of other coaches together so it wasn't just Rod Thornley doing this thing. I did that. I came back to the district, to Matt Gillingham, and nothing happened. Finally, in June, everybody was leaving. Nothing happened there. I checked back in August. Nothing was happening there. But Matt said that he had talked to HR and payroll throughout the summer, and nothing happened. Finally, when school started, I sent an email to Tracy, and a couple days later, there was a proposal, which is on the last page of your Section B. The bottom line is basically this, and that is if I'm working, I should get paid for the months I'm working. And the new schedule that they did come up with, what people were happy with, because it had dates. Even though they did it all before, they had perfectly great dates. And so, I guess, if you understand what I'm saying, people working in September should get paid in September. And if you're coaching a sport, you should get paid by when you're coaching. So I appreciate your time, and I will say that working with all David, Matt, and John Applegate and Tracy, the personnel has been fine. They've been helpful. They've been pondering back and forth, but really not getting any answers about why they haven't changed it. So that's why I'm here, to see if I can get that answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other audience members who would wish to address the board who didn't sign up? With that, we'll close the public comment section, and let's see what's next on our agenda. The consent agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Siri. Tracy, will you please poll the board?
Eric?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Siri?
Yes.
Okay, so within the consent agenda, we always review the donations, so the floor is yours, Tracy.
All right, if you turn to tab 8, we have multiple donations this evening totaling $136,874. I always round to the nearest dollar. So we've got an $80,000, that's right, $80,000 from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation to Lake Washington School District to support new teachers, our Links Mentoring Program, and our AVID program. So very generous donation from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. We have another $2,430 donation from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation to Lake Washington School District to purchase subscription renewal for Star Math. $3,000 from the Redmond Elementary PTSA to Redmond Elementary to support the Lunch Buddy program. $2,322 from the Juanita Rebels Booster Club to Kamiakin Middle to support the band program. $21,975 from the Laura Ingalls Wilder Elementary PTSA to Wilder Elementary to provide numerous items, including stipend for a student council, a reading program, a birthday books program, field trips, support the library to support music and performing arts, PE, substitutes, staff development, and reimbursement for copy machine supplies. $5,285 from the Rosa Parks Elementary PTSA to Rosa Parks Elementary to provide a stipend for their after-school drama production and to support field trips. $1,116 from Audubon Elementary PTSA to Audubon Elementary to provide a stipend for choir. $6,670 from Redmond Middle School PTSA to Redmond Middle to support field trips. And finally, $14,076 from North Star Parent Fund to North Star Middle to provide stipends for dances, community building, yearbook, music, fundraising, and field trips to support physics and silent reading. So all total tonight, $136,874 in very generous donations.
As always, that's fantastic, and we really do appreciate all of the support from parents and from the foundation. This is Links and AVID are important programs, and your support is hugely appreciated. Okay, so on the non-consent agenda, our next item, I think, is board policy on math.
Great. So we will be presenting ER23 mathematics this evening, and both Matt and John and I will all be co-presenting. So we'll give Matt just a moment here to bring the presentation up, and we'll get started. Okay. Can you go back one? Thank you. Okay, so the focus of the ER this evening is mathematics. It's also an opportunity to bring in aspects of EL7, our academic program. So just want to highlight that as well. And you can go ahead, Matt. I'll give you a signal. As we have kind of revamped these presentations this year, what we're attempting to do is bring together stronger connection between our end results. Those are the results that we want for our students, what we expect them to know and be able to do, and our ELs, or the strategies and methods that we're using to achieve those end results. So tonight, the EL portion really focuses on the academic program, specifically mathematics. So the ER pieces that we're focusing on are mathematical and scientific reasoning under ER2 content knowledge, and as connected to ER3, interdisciplinary skills and attributes, questions critically, thinks creatively, solves problems effectively, and makes connections are the three big areas. On the right-hand side of your screen, you see specifically the parts of EL7 academic program that we're focusing on in tonight's presentation with respect to academic content, curriculum, and assessments that help us determine how our students are achieving. So with that, I will turn it over to Matt, and he's going to get into the instructional program pieces of mathematics, and then John will pick up in terms of the end result portions and how our students are doing in math.
For literacy, we started with just what do we mean by mathematics. Let's try that again. All right, there we are. Similar to what we did with literacy, we start off with what do we mean by mathematics and what is the mathematics instruction in Lake Washington School District. As I was getting ready for this, I found it very fascinating, and I want to go back a slide. When we look at what our interdisciplinary content knowledge is and what some of the mathematical practices are, which I'm going to highlight next. The two big areas within Common Core mathematics, if you think of them as the largest kind of umbrellas of content in terms of standards, rather, it's content standards and practice standards. The content will vary by grade. The practice standards are the same and consistent from K through 12th grade. And as you see from the slide here, the content specifies the knowledge and skills that students need, and these are against the anchor standards to be college, career, and life ready. And the mathematical practice standards are the strategies that students need to be proficient in mathematics. And they include problem solving, reasoning and proof, communication, representation, and making connections. I wanted to just highlight 3 different grade levels so that you could see what we mean by this statement that the content will vary somewhat from grade to grade, and yet the practices remain consistent across these grades. So on the right-hand side, first you're seeing the 7 practice standards that are consistent across all grades. And as I said earlier, just a few minutes ago, as you look at those and you see problem solving, reasoning, communicating is embedded within those. On the left-hand side in grade 3, the large areas or the content areas include number and operations, measurement and data, geometry, and algebraic thinking. And then beneath these would be specific standards. In 6th grade, you'll see how the complexity changes in the content to include number system, but then moves into ratio and proportional relationships, expressions and equations, geometry, statistics, and probability. The standards are the same when it comes to the mathematical practice standards as the 8 that a student is continuing to refine and get better at. And then by whether it's 8th grade or whether it's 9th grade high school, the algebra standards, the content includes seeing structure, arithmetic and polynomials, creating equations, and then reasoning with equations and inequalities. And again, the mathematics practices are seen there on the right. When it comes to specifically how does this play out in our mathematics program, I'm going to do a little overview of each of the levels as I did for you with literacy, and you can see pictures throughout that represent those various students at each of those levels. About 6 to 7 hours is spent weekly in elementary schools on mathematics. Our core mathematics program is Envision Math. We supplement that, or support that rather, with the standards alignment guides, which are provided to help guide teachers in what are the most important areas to focus on. and math proficiency scales, and then district-developed unit assessments. This was adopted and implemented in its first year in 2011, and the next implementation is projected to be at 2023. As you know from Mr. Mike Van Orden's presentation last spring, we just recently adopted a new middle school program. Our students in this middle school program spend 250 minutes a week. The core courses are middle school math 6, 7, and 8, and then, of course, Algebra 1 and Geometry. It's using the Glencoe Math Core Course 1, 2, and 3 for the 6, 7, and 8, and Discovering Algebra and Geometry. That is undergoing a new adoption as we speak during this year for high school math as well. Similar resources, and I know there was quite a bit of excitement when Mike talked about the ALEX program, which is a very, very unique program in terms of being an adaptive, web-based resource for students in the middle levels to go along with the Glencoe program. Just implemented this year, and the next implementation seems a long, long way in 2028. And then finally, high school. And I mentioned that it's in process right now. They're in their second year. They're currently piloting materials and getting ready for pilot, I should say, and narrowing the choices. They're looking at Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Fourth year of math, recommended pre-calculus, statistics, and AP courses as well. It will replace the current Discovering Algebra, Geometry, and Algebra 2 courses, or materials rather, that are currently being used. It's in progress, and we expect to implement that, if all goes well, in the fall of 2017. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to John, who's going to take us through some of the ER data that was presented to you in the report. And John, you can do that.
So the data that we report is in alignment with the what's monitored that we report to our public as well. And these data slides just show that this is our second year of data with the Smarter Balanced Assessment. You can see across the board we continue to perform at a high level. Remember that our 11th grade math scores, once we have students needing that as a graduation requirement, we'll see a larger N taking that test, and so we'll get a better measure of student performance there. One of the things we do is we always measure and look at the number of credits students are earning. And so this slide looks at the overall 6 credits and 12 credits to be on track to graduate at both 9th and 10th grade. In the written report, you'll also see that for the overall group of students, but also at each disaggregation, we look at how are students earning math credits. And so when we think of being on track to graduate, we took that on track to graduate from our data dashboard rules. And so the rules there are 1 credit of 9th grade math and 2 credits after your 10th grade year. And so right now we have 94% of our 9th grade students earning 1 credit of mathematics, and we have 88% of our 10th grade students earning 2 credits of mathematics. And so it's actually a little bit higher percentages than our overall. And so when we look at our math performance, we like to understand how students are performing at each of our levels. And so this just breaks out for each of those reported grade levels, how students are performing at level 4, 3, 2, 1, and the orange is students that are not tested. You'll continue to see, as with much of our data, we have students performing very, very well, with over 50% of our students in grades 3, 5, and 8 exceeding standard, which presents unique opportunities for our classroom teachers, knowing that they have students that are still trying to understand and learn the content, and students that are demonstrating that they're ready for additional challenge. And when we look at our performance to state performance, we continue to outperform state peers. When we look at our comparable districts in our local area, we perform similar or better in mathematics. as with much of our data, we like to break it down to look at where are achievement and opportunity gaps. And like in our literacy report, you'll see that persistent gaps are present for many of our demographic groups that we monitor consistently. And you'll see those gaps continue through 3rd, 5th, and 8th grade. An additional measure that we continue to look at is our PSAT, since that is a test that we provide for all of our 10th grade students. It isn't just an opt-in test. We're able to report that as actual data that is reflective of our entire district. You can see there that red line on the left. That's the College and Career Readiness Math Benchmark. So you can see that is really an indicator of students that would be successful in college-level math. Again, these are 10th grade students, and so again, that's just an indicator for future. And so you can see here similar performance gaps. And then looking at some of our demographic groups, when looking at Lake Washington to comparable districts in 3rd, 5th, and 8th grade, students receiving special education, you can see students are performing similar to peers. And then when looking internally at our students receiving special education services compared to their peers that are not receiving special education services, you can see pretty persistent gaps in the scores. You can see here with our ELL students, when looking at comparable districts, scores look really good in, or better, in 3rd grade, but there's some gaps with our neighboring districts in both 5th and 8th grade. And if you remember from prior reports, those scores over the last few years have kind of gone up or down when we're comparing to our neighboring districts. And again, looking at the gap between Lake Washington students receiving ELL services and students not receiving ELL services. And what you didn't see there was our low-income students, so I do want to just provide that verbally to you. Our students that are identified as low income, there are persistent gaps there as well. One of the gaps I do want to point out is when back at one of the very first slides, attaining credit, where 88% of our 9th grade students are achieving 6 credits, and 94% of our 9th grade students are achieving 1 credit of math. Only 86% of our low-income students are achieving 1 credit of mathematics. And with 88% of our 10th grade students achieving 2 credits of math, only 68% of our low-income students are achieving 2 credits of math. So again, those are data for us to be cautious of and actually take action on, knowing that once students get off track to graduate, it takes tremendous effort. Matt is going to come and provide some additional information about strategies to improve.
The last time we shared this in this context, we were explaining that there are universal supports that we put into place to target areas that need improvement. There are also some targeted things that we do for specific groups, as you see there in the wheel. I want to speak to some of the areas that we want to highlight that are happening at both elementary and secondary level. One of the reasons for calling out standards-based teaching and assessing is you will often hear the phrase, have all students, has every student had access to the same standards and curriculum? Access to the core is so critical because if we're adjusting, watering down, or even keeping students from core instruction, it's going to impact the gap. And so the imperative is to make sure that every student has access to all of the same standards in teaching and learning. As I mentioned, or haven't mentioned, but I want to highlight, the work that's going on with small group differentiated instruction is both helping students in terms of the gap closing, as well as challenging students who are ready to move on to the next level. It's not just the gap closing. In terms of some professional learning opportunities at the elementary, this is the second year now of a Common Core cohort group in mathematics. This is a group of about 20 teachers who are looking really closely at those mathematical practices I highlighted early on in the first part, and are looking at how does that play out in daily instruction. There's also work that's been going on in our K-2 highly capable programs. I happened to walk through a classroom Thursday, of our K-2 highly capable instructors who are teaching K-2 general ed instructors, classroom teachers. How do you use some of the same differentiated strategies they're using with highly capable learners with every student, so that every student in the classroom can benefit from those strategies? On the secondary side, one of the things I wanted to highlight, in addition to the need for standards-based teaching and assessing to close those gaps as well, is the work that's going on around the middle school math adoption the new math middle school curriculum, which was adopted. So the workshop that you see there is for all our middle school teachers. We did some work in August. There's continuing work going on during LEAP throughout the year, so that is being paid attention to as a follow-on to the actual adoption. And then I want to also highlight that in the high school in particular, lesson and unit planning design work, and now it's moving to middle school in terms of our wave of presenting to principals, that kind of instruction is getting clearer and sharper around how do teachers plan for instruction, so it's very thoughtful in meeting all groups. And that is our presentation for this evening. Entertain any comments or questions for John or I.
Matt, could you just also highlight, given that John shared the data about credit accumulation, just quickly the credit retrieval work that's going on?
I will. Thank you. Last year, we spoke to you about the competency-based credit retrieval work that we're doing with students who have already spent a year of high school math, for instance, and they didn't pass, they failed. And rather than have them have to redo another 150 hours of sitting in a classroom, we're working with them closely during the school day and finding ways to help figure out what are the areas that they missed so that they can earn that credit and move on. That has started last year. We also offered it during summer school. You may remember during the summer school presentation that we gave, we highlighted that was also available to students. Not as many students came to the summer school to do that. We're also continuing to offer it this year as well. So that is an area of learning from what's working, and then how do we capture and make sure that the audience we want is there at the time we want them, which is during school time. And we're learning and growing from that and building on that. I think I'm being distracted here by a bug or something that happened.
Sorry, there was a
That's
bug on
okay.
the monitor that we took care of.
All right. Thank you. Question?
No, usually I have questions. I've just got some feedback. John and I should touch base later on a few of the slides, just the structure of the slides. It's nothing important that needs to be publicly discussed.
I would just say, if we look at, and I don't think this was on the slides, but actually on the report, the written one we got, the credit retrieval seems to be working. You have increased the number of students who are getting the 6 credits and the 12 credits. The math we don't know, but that's a good sign. And I think that's a positive aspect to think too. Appreciate the view of the performance to similar other districts. Again, I would still question the performance targets. And where we are at with those and our success with 2018. I still think that piece is falling out here. There's lots of work going on. I'd also be interested, as we have the data over a greater period of time, is to see it trended over the years. Right now, we're still speaking very singular, and I know that's because the testing changed at the same time, so it'd be useful. I really like the PSAT data because that's the nationally standardized that all our 10th graders take. I mean, just looking at it, haven't really researched into it to know anymore. I was intrigued that those gaps don't appear to be as great based on the PSAT and on that testing standard. So there could be issues around how tests are given and the structures of the test that drive some of that, which is also make us think about, do we want to look at other options of how we do standardized testing? I mean, so it was an interesting component that we might want to look at just a little bit more. You've done the ELL students, but those are currently the ones we serve. It'd be great at some point if we could do those recently exited so we can see how we succeeded with those who received our services. Now that they're out, are they at standard as you're working to address the language issues at the same time? As to when that happens, I don't know, but that was the piece. The achieving credit in low income, I think that's great to be looking at and addressing. I imagine we would look at that across the board, would see a variety of equity issues, and low income wouldn't be the only one. So those credit retrievals in the work, I know that there's a variety of intervention that's going on with the ELL students as well with that. So what's great is the work at trying to keep them at grade level while they bring that on. And some of the, intervention budget, that's a require of time and commitment oftentimes. And lastly, the piece that wasn't talked about here, we're speaking of the achievement gap really here, much more so than the opportunity gap as we discussed it today in our work session. And so I would be interested, and we don't look at it and we never have, and this might be something for the future, is we have a lot of extracurricular activities that build these math skills and literacy skills. I think of chess clubs, music, our logic and games, the expansion, what our PTAs do a lot of work with in after school and extracurricular, our clubs after school. And we're not looking at who's accessing those, and are we guaranteeing solid access to those from an opportunity side? And all of those can help to build that math from an opportunity component. And so I would think that's a future concept. I don't think that's something for next week or next month. But I do think it's a piece to address that opportunity side of who is in our music programs. Can we expand that so we're actually addressing that on a more equitable level in our bands, in our orchestra, and across the board? Who's in chess club? Can we make that access more accessible? So I think there's just some other ways to address the opportunity that I'd be intrigued to research more.
And actually, as long as we've got this slide up here, this is a perfect opportunity for both these pieces of information, which I finally figured out what they were. A box and whiskers plot is better than a bar plot. We've got no measure of the distribution on the left side, which is what the right side is trying to show us, that 80%, 81% of Asians were above that red bar. There are better visual ways just to communicate these data, because low income on average below there, or actually I guess it's probably more on median, there's a third of the low income students who are above the college and career readiness benchmark, and that isn't easily interpreted. So anyway, but this is all just about presentation rather than content. I like the data that was given. I do, per usual, I want to endorse the use of the PSAT. This is a very good benchmark. The only thing we give it in the 10th grade, which is a little bit more aggressive than, and it's usually taken by 11th graders, right? The only reason I bring this up is that our national merit kids, the PSAT that they took, that they're judged on national merit, is actually taken in 11th grade. If you take it in 10th grade, you're not in the national merit pool. So it's something that I've wondered about why we did 10th. So, and anyway, I would love to endorse something that if we've got kids who are doing well in 10th grade who are on our low income schedule, to subsidize them taking it in 11th grade so they can be competitive on national merit.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot more richness out of the PSAT data because of its national component that you can utilize in the standardization. And partially because there is no prepping. I mean, it's very much you take it and it goes. Plus, having practiced in their 10th grade year it actually prepares them well for the 11th grade taking, and we actually close some of the opportunity and achievement gap by providing the opportunity in 10th grade. So I do think that's of value. But yeah, I hadn't understood the second graph either. So actually with that, the gaps do show just as much there when I look at that one.
Anything else? Okay. So let's see. What are we on to next? Next is program report on professional learning.
Great. So again, thanks to Matt and John, also to Tim Krieger, who's our Director Assessment Evaluation Research, and also Mike Van Orden, who's Director Teaching and Learning, for all working on the data and putting these presentations together. So I just want to say a thank you to the team.
And I want to say thank you to Tracy for covering for me. That's supposed to be something I'm thanking you for, and I entirely failed to do that. So thank you, Tracy.
Not at all. No.
And I do echo that sentiment. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to our program report tonight. It is professional learning. For some reason, we don't have it on our screen yet, but now we do. So our program reports are an opportunity because typically, as you know, the board gets written reports for executive limitations, and we haven't historically presented those at a public meeting and been able to highlight some of those things. So our program reports this year are honing in on particular aspects of an EL so we can provide an update to the board and to the public on a particular department or program. Tonight it's professional learning. So this allows us to, while not directly connected to end results for students, we know that if we focus on professional learning for staff, the people who are working with our students on a day-to-day basis, that we will have better outcomes for students. So this particular report tonight focuses on EL9, which is district staff, and the particular parts of EL9 that speak to ensuring that all staff members are qualified, trained, and trained to perform the responsibilities assigned to them, and also some of our efforts around nurturing top quality staff once they are hired so they continue with us in the district. So I wanted to highlight that one of our core values as a district is learning focused. And those three rings that are shown on the graphic say student learning, professional learning, communities, and organizational learning. So we truly believe in really a interrelated three-tiered learning agenda as an organization, that if we focus on professional learning for staff, we'll get better student learning outcomes, and as an organization we have to focus on how do we help professional learning support it better. So there's actually a good graphic on the next slide that shows this interrelated learning agenda, that if we're going to have powerful and equitable learning opportunities for all students and really see that movement in our student data, then we have to invest and support professional learning, or the acquisition of skills, knowledge, and perspectives to enhance performance, which we believe then does in turn influence student learning. And of course, we need to focus on system learning. How do we develop policies, practices, and structures that support, alter, and enhance professional learning so then we can improve student learning? So that's why professional learning is so important to us. The other piece I just wanted to highlight where professional learning is highlighted is in our strategic plan, specifically with respect to Goal 3, to recruit, hire, and retain highly effective personnel. We have 3 objectives connected to that goal, and tonight we're really focusing on the second objective, provide quality training and professional learning systems. So that's what you're going to hear about in this program report. Do you want to go from here? Or?
I'm ready to.
Go ahead.
All righty.
All right.
So one of the ways we wanted to think about professional learning, as Tracy laid out as our strategy, is what is our approach to professional learning, and what does it look like for each of these 3 major groups: our administrative staff, our certificated staff, and our classified staff. And that's going to inform this outline of our presentation as well. So as we think about the first group, our administrators, and think of the continuum of support from when they first come to our district, they're first hired, to when they're already experienced, and we go from left to right. We have a 2-day new administrator orientation, which happens in late July, typically before our DLT training that occurs each year in August. And then that's a situation where I'm going to describe in a moment a little more detail. But you look at that continuum as what's next is for new building principals, and there they are assigned a director of school support, who meets with them and checks in with them weekly. Then experienced all DLT in terms of ongoing professional learning. We have professional learning for the entire district leadership team. We've mentioned some FIERCE training that occurred a couple of years ago. That would be an example of all district leadership training. Learning community level meetings, learning is occurring there in that situation, as well as individual professional learning support. I mentioned the new administrator orientation. It occurs for 2 days, and then there are follow-on monthly meetings where they have a focused area that they're continuing to learn about. It purposes to support our new administrators through induction to our school district to help them acquire the skills, the knowledge, and the culture understanding of Lake Washington. Summer Leadership Institute was new in this format, not that we've never done summer leadership, but in this format this past year we worked with a group called CEL, the Center for Educational Leadership at the University of Washington. The target audience was principals and teacher leaders. 62 participants participated in these sessions that lasted for 4 days. The focus was to support skill development and leadership in designing professional development, using instructional goal setting, as well as providing and using targeted feedback. Now I'm going to move to certificated staff, and again kind of start with the overview of what is our approach and what's the continuum of support that we provide from new to the district to already experienced 5 years and above. New to the district, for many years now, we've offered an Educator Introduction Academy each August, which is our induction and beginning professional learning for our newest teachers. Our novice teachers are assigned a consulting teacher in their first year to the district through our new teacher support program. In year 2, that intensive support shifts to what is referred to as sort of this gradual release. There is continuing support, but not as intensive as it is in the first year, where they're receiving weekly check-ins on a one-to-one basis with their coach. In novice years 3 to 4, we, a couple of years ago, through some additional budget resources, added professional learning coaches across the district. Those coaches work now with any teacher that's novice from 3 to 4 years and beyond. Teachers have opportunities to not only pursue their professional certification, but to also be supported in that. And beyond 5 years and beyond, we continue with the professional learning coaches. Teachers can earn their national board certification, and something you see there in both areas known as professional learning series are courses that I'll show in another separate slide. So over the course of time, as I want to summarize this slide, teachers from beginning their experience of beginning teachers in the district, all the way what are we doing to continue to support them is an approach to be intentional so that it is something that we're always growing and wanting to improve on.
Well, sorry, you actually triggered something that I've been wondering about, and that is the professional learning coaches are at the elementary level. Their fifth grade is largely fifth grade across the district, admittedly with a couple of minor tweaks for special choice schools. But at the high school level, some subjects, our professional learning coaches aren't subjects experts, are they? They're more teaching experts, right?
That's correct.
And I'm wondering what sort of, for the example, there are 2 examples I want to throw out there. It's foreign language and performing arts, band, orchestra, etc., where I'm not sure that someone who doesn't speak that language can do a great job of supporting a teacher and helping them hone their, providing meaningful feedback to them. I mean, you can tell them, yeah, okay, on average your kids are doing whatever, but, you know, can you provide feedback on, is the accent that your kids are getting good in a foreign language, or is the selection of pieces appropriate for your musical group, whatever. Just that's an arena where I'm wondering if we've got systematic support.
So our approach with the professional learning coach program is really, so our teachers work in teams, professional communities of collaboration, regardless of what content you teach. The role of the professional learning coach is to really help that team look at data and address a problem of practice. So they're not necessarily providing the kind of individual feedback as it's a different role from consulting teacher. It's a different role from the person who supervises, monitors, evaluates instruction. Is John
Looks like
or
John wants
Matt,
to say
do you
some
want to
more.
add anything to that?
So the professional learning coaches, they really are about instruction, what's quality instruction, less about the content, because, you know, if they walk into a calculus BC like this gentleman was talking about earlier tonight, they probably don't know that language either. And so it's more about how are you entering into the class, and are you prepared for instruction? Do you have engagement strategies? What strategies do you have to engage all learners in your classroom, not just the kids that get it? And so it's kind of
working with teams of teachers.
Correct. It's the pre-thinking around that, and then post-instruction, how are you ensuring that you know how your students are doing, what are your next steps. The other thing the professional learning coaches do is what they call learning walks. And so they'll go, we give release time to teachers, they go actually and watch instruction in a classroom and then debrief with what they saw around best practices. And so it's that kind of interaction, less about the content. And so a group of music instructors could say, we want to go do a learning walk, go into so-and-so's class. They're going to get the content differently than the professional learning coach, but that coach is going to help engage them in a conversation that's about instruction and best practices.
I have a question too. The professional development, and when we look in this area, is directed at teachers. Do we have also professional development for the paras and the IAs? I'm not seeing it here. Does it mirror this?
Yeah, we do. So the 3 areas, it's coming. So we've got administrators, certificated staff, and then classified staff.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry, I missed classified. I'm sorry. Probably in administrators. Never mind.
Anyway, thanks, Dan. Thanks, John. I'll ask you more questions offline.
One of the things
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say, and that we can talk more offline too, but one of the issues is, you know, if you think about how to scale a service like professional learning coaches, we wouldn't have the resource or the expertise to be able to hire coaches for every content area. So it's just not the way that we've approached it, because you couldn't scale it, and if we could find that expertise, we'd want them in the classroom. Anyway, so just...
The next series of slides, I want to unpack each of these with a little bit more detail than you see represented on this particular slide. So I'm going to take us through several of the programs that we offer. I mentioned the Educator Introduction Academy, and that is offered to all certificated staff new to the district. They're oriented in the district instruction, the instructional strategies we use, the standards, the curriculum, expectations around the framework, and other district expectations as well. Its duration, it lasts for 7 days during August. Last year we had 269 participants. It continues to grow over the years as we grow as a district. The new teacher support program is a 2-year program, and I was going to mention that I heard one of the donations was from the Lake Washington Schools Foundation this evening, which is we're heavily reliant on for year 2 of the program. You can see that in year 1, the the new teacher supports, the consulting teachers are working with each new teacher in a one-to-one relationship where they are checking in weekly, and they are helping the new teachers with their observation cycles. So they're getting used to what is a successful pre-post instructional opportunity look like. In year 2, that gradually starts to become lessened, and they're not meeting as frequently. There are monthly consulting teacher connections. They are providing classes and workshops that they're helping to facilitate, and they arrange for peer-to-peer visits for the teachers themselves. We have 9 consulting teachers Just happens to be it's the same number, 134 first year and 134 second year teachers. The ratio is about 1 to 15 in their first year. They work closely, by the way, as well with the principal of the school and the teacher of the school, so that they're really forming a support team around the work of the first year teacher. That's why I wanted to just highlight that picture on the left. It happens to be Kim Belanco, the principal, and in the middle is the consulting teacher, and on the right is the new teacher. We have ProTeach, our professional certification program, which targets all of our P12 teachers who have completed their first 2 years of teaching experience to help them seek a professional certificate.
And this is a statewide certification.
Statewide certification.
Specific.
So it's not specific just to Lake Washington. We're actually helping support those teachers through the process by establishing 3 release days, as you see there, a year, 5 evening sessions, and they have 9 months to complete it. Last year we had 78 participants go through this. National Board Certification Program, our target audience are teachers who want to pursue that in candidacy in either advanced, first time, or a renewal. Typically this is done in the, I want to say, 5th year of teaching. And we had 69 participants last year. They were given 3 release days as well as monthly Saturday sessions. They have between 1 and 2 years to complete this. A later slide will show you some pretty phenomenal data to show how we compare to the state and how many of our teachers are already National Board certified, which we'll be getting to in a moment.
So, Matt, just the participation in that is about stable at this point? It's about 70 teachers per year going through?
I'd have to look up the data to see if that's remained stable or is increasing. Yeah. I want to be more accurate rather than saying yes. I want to see if that's going up.
Yeah.
I'm just doing the back of the envelope.
I think we've included the year-to-year. I know we have data in the actual written EL.
Yeah.
So, but
because at 70 participants this year, that's about 5% of our certificated staff, I think, and that
almost 1,600 teachers.
Yeah, so it's a little shy of 5%. But you know, if it's good for 10 years, then as it rolls, we'll wind up with roughly half the total population being board certified, which is cool.
Talked a little bit about the Professional Learning Coach program. John had already highlighted that this is really providing support for instructional strategies. They work not only with individuals, but with teams as well. One thing that we didn't say, and though it's not to be content focused, but we've deliberately selected teachers at every level. So there's elementary coaches who work with elementary, middle with middle, and high school with high school. It's not to say they're getting into the content, like the world language example that was given a moment ago, but that they're actually knowing at least the speak of the level. They know what it is to teach in a high school because they've done that work, or middle school or elementary. We have 10 professional learning coaches. They have had 259 participants last year in what are called coaching cycles, and that number is continuing to go up and has already increased this year, is my understanding of where they were just a year ago. The Professional Learning Series program is for all educators. You don't have to be 5 years into the program, into teaching. You could be a beginning teacher. Any teacher can participate in this. Last year they had, I want to say this number in a way that may make sense, not actual individual attendees, 1,287, but rather 1,287 places or slots that were taken in various classes. Those are just some examples of differentiated instruction, classroom management, lesson and unit planning design. Those are some of the kinds of classes that have been offered. These are typically offered by our own district teachers who have expertise in specific areas, so it helps to grow our own in that capacity as well.
Just want to highlight one thing here, in reference to the Danielson framework for teaching. So our professional growth, our instructional framework, and it's the framework for professional growth and evaluation for teachers, and this is talked about more in the written version of EL9, calls out what proficient and distinguished practice looks like in a variety of areas. So by aligning professional learning opportunities to those areas. It's that idea of reciprocal accountability. If we expect teachers to be proficient and distinguished in these areas, then we need to provide the appropriate support and ongoing learning so they can become proficient and distinguished. So,
Thank you. Now we're moving to what do we do for classified staff and what's our approach there. Slightly different based on the needs of classified, but there again, there's a continuum of support from induction to opportunities for continuing professional skill enhancement. So when our classified support are new to their job, in the induction phase, we have a new employee orientation and typically some pretty job-specific training. So what's unique is that, for instance, bus drivers are receiving bus driver training from within transportation division. That may be very different. It is very different. It's job embedded, and what they need to do a really good job driving buses will be different than what the paras are seeing. They may have a similar new employee orientation to the district because they're being oriented to a new district. That comes next would be our job-specific training, and that's offered through workshops, roundtables, classes, one-on-one support. Again, that varies depending on the employee group that we're talking about. There's opportunities for professional and skill enhancement. These were an example. Microsoft certification, a number of our employees have gone straight through and taken the courses in order to receive their certification through Microsoft. There's also additional courses that are offered throughout the year and across the years for continuing growth. Office professionals are highlighted here. Last year we had 594 participants in classes that were outside of the workday. These two could have been, I look to Janine, as slots and not necessarily 594 different people, because it would far exceed the number of office professionals we actually have in the system, so it was just multiple classes that were taken. 232 participants in monthly trainings. This too is to support the office professionals to meet their job responsibilities. The classes are in technology, communication, again, the job embedded peer-to-peer processes that are needed for them to do their job the best they can. Instructional assistance, 453 slots that were taken in various classes. We show some of the examples there. Restorative practices, which we referenced earlier when it comes to reducing suspension, playground, effective practices for monitoring students, small group literacy instruction. I know through our elementary literacy program, that was a request that actually came from them, which was very often where we're being asked to help support small group instruction, and we would like to be better equipped to understand how to do that. Our paraeducators, where all of our paraeducators participate in this and did last year to support them in acquiring the skills and knowledge to achieve the Washington State Special Education Recommended Core Competencies. This too is job embedded, included two-day Crisis Prevention Institute last year during 15-16. Two of our paraeducators are highlighted there from Rosa Parks. When we look at what are some of the outcomes that we're getting, since we have this theory of action, which is that if we invest in our educators and in our classified and our administrators, that will have an impact on student achievement and helping people to become more effective.
So just as a caveat before we go any further, most of the data that we have is specific to certificated teachers, and it's a mix of national research and what it suggests and really qualitative data in terms of how effective our participants reporting that the program is. As you know, it's really difficult to do causal data to show a direct line between, for example, we know if we have consulting teachers, then we'll get these student outcomes. That's causal. This is more correlation and more based on what national research suggests and what we hear from our participants. And right now, most of the data we have is from certificated staff. So an area that we can expand as we move forward.
As we've done in some other reports for you, we pull from some of the research, is what does the research say about professional development, and in this case from Hanover, new teachers are more likely to stay in a profession if they are receiving supportive, not only administrators, but also opportunities to continue to grow through mentoring, staff development, and teacher induction programs are three that are highlighted in the literature. When we ask our teachers that go through Educator Introduction Academy, their 7 days, I want to also highlight this is perception data, and you're going to see a lot of this is the perception of the participants that have gone through various trainings. In seeing how that slide looks, it looks like you're able to see that well. The first question was they understand the mission. By the end of the 7 days, you can see the number of attendees who responded that they had strongly agreed or disagreed or strongly disagreed. Am I reading that right? Something's wrong. What am I reading right? No. That's right. There are none. Thank goodness. I thought there was something the matter there. The second question was, I know how to identify, access, and use the resources that we provide them, the standards, the materials, and assessments. The third is, as a result, they're better prepared to incorporate student-centered learning and active learning strategies in their classrooms. And that the atmosphere is warm and welcoming as a culture is really important in terms of culture setting and welcome into the district. Here is the statistic I said I was going to mention was pretty encouraging, that in Washington State, the pass rates have averaged about 83% over the last 3 years. Ours have averaged 98% over the last same period, which is quite good, and we're quite proud of each year when we get to acknowledge and see our national boards here during a board meeting.
This is Teach.
Am I on the wrong one?
You're on Pro Teach.
Yeah, I am. This is Pro Teach. I said boards, excuse me. This is the national boards. So we have 270 teachers working in Lake Washington who have earned their national board certification in total. It's considered the highest credential a teacher can earn, and it's taught by board-certified teachers who are learning more than students taught by other teachers. Another piece of research was on peer observation and feedback, which ties in nicely to our professional learning coach. An important part of that is peer observation, which our coaches also arrange for, which is seeing peer-to-peer. So it's an opportunity for them to see through modeling, what does that look like in another fifth grade teacher's example or a high school teacher example. More detail here is a series of questions that the participants that went through the cycle were asked last year. Excuse me. In terms of the reporting that it had a positive impact on student achievement, self-reported, perception 98% in the 15-16 year, where it was 93% in 14-15. That they're using reflection. The coach request process was easy to understand. The coaching cycle is personalized, productive, and they would access the program again. What I'm learning from Stephen Bryant, who is our Director of Professional Learning, is much of the growth of the program happens through word of mouth and people having positive experiences. So teachers talk about it positively and other teachers get excited about it as well. And that is our presentation for this evening on professional learning.
Any questions or commentary?
Something.
You're not obligated to.
Well, actually, I do feel somewhat. You put the time to put it in. You should have some feedback of some kind upon it. I would say the continuums that are laid out show a very solid view of professional development, and I think that's a great way in which we're really attacking that and ensuring our students are well served as well as our staff are well served. I appreciate the fact that it was across all levels. From the central leadership administrators, and it's been with new and through. I mean, much of the research shows that it's those first 5 years that are really key, and we're investing heavily there. So that shows a very solid place. The one piece, and I think we'll see more in the EL9 when that's actually written, so I'm not sure. But retention would be the piece that I would look at. And I know we already do, but that was the one piece I had that one question as I went through. But as I say, anecdotally, I hear fabulous professionals within this district. and that we provide a lot. So there's solid investment. And that the one piece that is missing here is, what is the budget? That was the question I had, is financially, what do we invest here? Because I think that is a big component. The certification component, I think, is big because that's a self-reflection that you go through in teaching, and I think that's a value. And the fact that we support it and do very well with it, I think is great.
So I actually did have one question on peer observation. Who are the peers at the high school level? Is it basically within the building other math teachers? Is that how it works, or?
From what I understand from Stephen, it could be a combination of within the building or going to another school building. So that's where they are arranging the peer alike across the district, so they are actually arranging for them within the district.
That's something that we've historically done with the consulting teacher program to sort of have, we haven't really designated them model classrooms, but our consulting teachers have sort of some go-to classrooms and teachers and that list grows and grows as the years go on. So if a new teacher needs to see an exemplary lesson in action, that can be set up either from within the building or from, all across the district. And we have some pretty amazing teachers in every building, so.
Yeah, again, I'm just asking or pressing on an issue that's specific to one arena, but sorry, I'm about to disclose. I'm a STEM nerd, right? But I almost did a minor in music theory. Didn't finish it, and band and orchestra aren't necessarily the same beast. And I'm not aware of anything that's a formal way for our band directors to collaborate across buildings. The most important colleagues for high school are your two feeding middle schools, and vice versa. It's sort of a trio there. And I'm not aware, I'm speaking of band because I've got kids in band, but orchestra and choir are the same beasts, really. And that's something that I'm not sure our music teachers are benefiting from the same degree of support that our other teachers at the high school level are, who might have more local colleagues in their specialty.
Can I speak to a couple of things on that point? I want to say that, first of all, we have been now for several years designating 4 leap days per year when that very group of colleagues can and does come together across the school year. So our band, choir, and orchestra teachers do that 4 times a year. It's one way where they're having an opportunity to collaborate, largely because of the reason you just brought up, which is the isolation. If you're the only singleton in the building doing orchestra, where are you getting the opportunity to be with others? It's not the only group we do that with. I'd also say they are so tightly connected when it comes to their concerts that they have formed, talk about vertical articulation between levels. If anybody doesn't do it better, I don't know if this is a shout out to our band and orchestra people, because they ensure that their concerts are getting the learning communities elementary, and they set them on a certain night, and you don't violate with that night because that's very critical to them, and it should be. They do the same thing at the middle level in the high school, and it really grows the program. So they're very collaborative in that regard, having been to a few of the concerts and watch how they interact with each other as peers. They're quite a collegial group and quite a commendable group, I want to point out, too.
It's been in conversations with directors that the leap days are much appreciated and they make sense, but the leap days aren't pure observation. You're not seeing them in their natural habitat, and there's not really any time that someone else who speaks their language is in their classroom, which is something that would be valuable to them. And that's different than leap days. That's a release day to let them move around and see each other in action. Because let's be honest, I'm sorry, your average administrator isn't going to be able to critique how you're doing on teaching the embouchure on an oboe.
I guess my view would be ask them.
Well, no, that's the thing. I asked them, and I'm relaying this on their behalf.
Well, it'd be intriguing. I just know, Redmond High School, specifically, I've sat through the elementary, middle school, high school concert in the same place to do that vertical integration exactly like that. So it would just be one of those things too, with those special subjects, ask them. Are they well supported, or what else could happen?
Thank you. But overall, really cool. Mark?
Matt, I know that, and this may be more with John too, with the para-educators, I know that we've got the quote-unquote super paras that go out and help the paras and try and bring them up to speed and try and help them to, especially the new ones, to get into the program. There is a movement for more formalized standardization of para-education, if you will. And I'm wondering perhaps if we were to take a look and be more proactive in our continuing education of paras, that when that eventuality does come around, we're ahead of the curve. Because my concern is that if that does get adopted, and I think it probably will eventually, that there's going to be a gap period. And it sure would be nice to have us have no gap, if you will. Granted, God only knows what's going to be put into a bill or whatever in the future. However, if we can anticipate what the needs are, because we've got a lot of great professional paras that have been around for a while, and I would think that they would have a good feel for that sort of thing. You see where I'm going? My concern is that the paras can be very transitory at times, and more so perhaps than teachers. And I know that there are certain schools right now that are really short. And I know there's this shortage of trying to find good paras too, to be quite frank. And I think the more we get a reputation of building our core paras, we can attract more. Just a thought.
Great. Okay. So with that, thanks.
Great. Thanks,
Matt
Matt.
and John.
Thanks
we really
to
appreciate
Stephen Bryant as well. Matt mentioned
Yep.
Stephen, but Director of Professional Learning, who is overseeing this
Driving
whole
that.
effort. So thank you.
that. Very cool. Okay. We're on to the SOOPS report, so
SOOPS
the floor is
report.
yours.
Yeah, so we've got one more little PowerPoint tonight because it's a facility update, and with facilities, we like to give you visuals. And so I'll get us started, and then Janine will get into some specific project updates, but we'll see if we can do this in just 10 minutes. So first, it's official. We have 29,008 students. That is our official October count, and that means we are now officially the third largest district in Washington State. If you go to our homepage of our website today, you'll see this on the front page that shows our historical enrollment and the fact that our enrollment continues to climb. And this just gives you a quick glance at where we've come since October 2014. So remember, we were the sixth largest district in 2014. At 26,716 students. We then jumped to fourth largest in 2015 with 27,830 students. We are now number 3 at 29,008. So we're just behind Spokane, significantly behind Seattle, but don't be surprised if you see us at that number too in just the next couple of years. So that's great because we have a plan.
Right. Heaven forbid that number is next year.
Yeah, our plan is building on success. So we're going to actually, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, there's words in the video too. But we're actually going to show you a little brief video that is now on our district website and a dedicated page to building on success and what this is all about. So with that, we're just going to let the video do the speaking for us.
As we're going to turn to our program, we're going to describe where our suspense comes from.
We want to ensure that Lake Washington School District continues to be a high-performing and successful school district. Our student performance is among the highest in the state. Lake Washington attracts many families, and student enrollment is rapidly growing. In fact, Lake Washington is now the third largest district in Washington state, growing from sixth largest to third largest in just 2 years. Through community support and successful passage of levies and bonds, the district is building on success, which is the name for our long-term plan to continue to build schools and provide quality learning environments and experiences for our growing number of students and families. We are continuing to improve student learning through investment in classroom resources, technology, building infrastructure, and quality teachers and staff. And the district is now building new schools, rebuilding and enlarging older schools, and implementing a long-term, community-developed plan to continue to build new and rebuild old schools to reduce overcrowding and accommodate growing enrollment.
Between 2010 and 2015, the district grew by about 625 students a year. Projections indicate that growth was just the start. For a long-term solution to a growing student population, the district turned to a task force of parents and community members. The task force recommended building new schools and updating and expanding some aging schools. To pay for these improvements, the district proposed a bond measure. Voters passed that measure in April 2016. Work has begun on these projects, including 3 brand new schools, plus rebuilding and enlarging 3 older schools. Staff, parents, and community members have contributed ideas. Future bond measures will be needed to complete the task force's long-term plan. That plan is designed to handle the district's growing enrollment through 2030.
The plan also provides measures to ensure fiscal responsibility and accountability. Projects adhere to cost-effective design principles recommended by the task force. They are reviewed by a volunteer design and construction advisory group that brings industry expertise to ensure efficient and effective design.
Quality learning environments also depend on keeping up those buildings and providing appropriate technology that enhances student learning and supports district operations. School building updates, safety, site improvements, and replacement of major systems like roofs are funded through the Capital Projects Levy. That levy is renewed every 4 years, the last time in 2014. That same measure also provided funds for replacing student computers on a 4-year cycle and improving the server and network infrastructure. An Educational Programs and Operations Levy enables the district to operate those school buildings, provide student transportation, and teacher planning, preparation, and training. To keep up with the needs of our growing district, future bond and levy measures will be proposed in 2018, 2022, and 2026. By following the plan outlined by the community-based task force, Lake Washington School District will continue building on success.
Okay, so we wanted to share that video with you that sort of launches what Building on Success is. And now Janine's going to walk us through progress on bond projects and show you where you can find that information online as well.
Great, thank you. As the video says, really this is thanks to our community that have helped not only develop this plan, but helped fund the plan through the successful passage of the 2016 bond. And so we have noted here a picture of our construction signs that are up now on all of the projects. I want to highlight tonight the 8 projects that are part of the 2018 or 16 bond, and those are really geographically located throughout the district. We want to provide an update and then show you where you can get some more information and some additional ways in which we are helping to track progress on these projects. This is an overall project schedule that you've seen before, but just showing kind of these projects span between opening schools in 2018 through 2021. And the first project I want to highlight is Juanita High School. So this is to rebuild and enlarge Juanita High School. And we have a number of different pictures here. And this is the graphic that we are using throughout the new website information to kind of show each of these projects has sort of major building blocks or major milestones that are sequences of the project. And as you can see with the graphic here on the Juanita High School project, we've completed the first 3 phases of that. We've completed project development, concept design, and schematic design, and we are right now, you can see that we are here, like Google Maps, in the design development for this project, and then the future phases of construction documents and permitting, construction, and then occupancy. So this is a graphic we're using along on the website, and I do want to show you then a picture of each of on the Building on Success portion of the website. Each of the projects has the graphics starting out to show community members where we are in the process. And then I wanted to just bring this up live because there's a lot of additional information here about the project, about some of the community input that we've received, information about, like, for example, this one has the school goals and vision. This is information about the school input team, the work that they've been doing, and then some of the specific information about the project, specifics about the number of spaces included, and some of the similar information that was included in the bond measure. So just more pictures. So just lots of detail here that we have for each of the projects.
So Janine, do the projects on this page include a timeline for opportunities for input and feedback?
Yeah, I think the next phases of this, we're going to be having some additional kind of call-outs for each of these, and we have been advertising those. For example, we had the first Juanita High School meeting, so we've been advertising those on the website, but we do anticipate doing some additional call-outs for these.
Yeah, it just seems like on this page, sort of the header would be, the next important event would be, it's a place that you could catch audience.
Yeah.
Janine, on this, a few slides ago, you showed us something that had, slides ago, you don't have to go back to it, but there was project timelines, dates when we expected certain things to start. Is that on this, on the...
That overall Gantt chart.
I think that's what I'm talking about. Is that going to be on our website? I think that...
It is. If okay. We go here?
Is that one?
I say this because we will be going out likely for another bond before a lot of these are complete, and there will be a lot of questions as to, well, what'd you do with my money the last time around? And I think it'd be helpful to have this front and center to show where we are at with the prior bond effort.
So you're thinking this would be a good landing page?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll leave it to staff to think through that.
And I think that is also why we wanted to highlight for each of the projects where specifically we are and all the progress that has happened. Because as you say, a lot of the progress, it takes time for all of that work. I think people have seen the community meetings, participated, but there is a lot of course, legwork that goes into developing a school and doing all the planning and permitting. So this graphic is intended to help also kind of show the waypoints of where we are. Redmond Ridge Middle School is also another project that we are underway here. This one is planned to open in the fall of 2019. And similarly, we are in construction documents and permitting, so we're through the first, or actually we're a little further along than this one on the Juanita project, so we're through the first 4 phases and in construction documents and permitting. And we are on track for permit application about March of 2017. For Redmond Ridge East, the elementary at Redmond Ridge East, that project is scheduled to open in fall of 2018. And similarly, also, we are in the construction documents and permitting phase for that. And we expect to be permit application this fall in November. Elementary at North Redmond, we have also fall of 2018, and you can see the project information here. Also similarly, this is in construction documents and permitting, permit application in November 2016, and then there's a conditional permit, use permit also on this hearing that's scheduled for December. Kirk Elementary is fall of 2019, and that is a real rebuild and enlarge existing Kirk Elementary School. That project is in concept design, so we are anticipating the school input team will begin in December, and they're doing a lot of the pre-design work. Project development work has been done, and then a first community meeting for that school is planned for February. Mead Elementary, another rebuild and enlarge.
Janine, for that community meeting, can we make sure to advertise that to the neighborhood associations that are in that area?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yes. We will note that. And so Mead, also 2019, similarly, that project, Rebuild and Enlarge Mead Elementary, is in concept design, and it's kind of a similar timeline for that. Also, school construction input team beginning in December with a community meeting planned in February. Explorer Elementary, that's our first project that will be done, completed. That's for planned opening in fall of 2017. While it's a sooner project, we're not quite as far along, but of course it's a smaller project, so it will move a little quicker. They're just finishing concept design, and we'll be moving into schematic design. That's all modular, so it doesn't have the same kind of time permitting and construction timeline that some of our other projects do. And there's a school community meeting that will be held in December for that project. And then finally, Old Redmond Schoolhouse. That's a planned opening for 2019. That's refurbishing Old Redmond Schoolhouse for use by preschool. And we are in the project development for that. When we did the bond measure, that was kind of a conceptual project, and the work that's underway right now is really doing an educational specification for preschool. So that work is underway, expect to be completed in December, and then concept and space plans would be done in February and March. So again, that project, because it's not new construction, it's remodeling, it'll be a little bit different time cadence than some of the other projects that require, building from the ground up. And we have been meeting. We have met with the city of Redmond. I know Forrest has met with them a couple times. I've met with them. We also have a planned future meeting once we get the ed spec and do some of the concept design, so we can talk about kind of what are the opportunities for joint use and kind of their needs for programming as well. So we're continuing that ongoing conversation with them. That is it.
Thank you very much. We're actually 6 minutes ahead of the schedule as I've been given the agenda here, so I'm going to keep us rolling on this.
Great.
Siri, do you have any legislative items for us?
Chris, can I say
30
seconds? I
Yes,
just want to
yes.
thank Janine, of course, and I also want to thank Catherine and John Knorr for the video, and, of course, Forrest for all of his work on
Good point.
the work. Thank you.
Sorry, I am chronically remiss, and so I appreciate that. So anyway, Siri.
Just a few things of sort of what's coming up. One is in the next couple of weeks, we'll be creating the draft legislative priorities for the district to ideally come through in the December meeting. I also had an opportunity to meet with Tracy, and speaking of doing some legislative advocacy. Legislation, kind of what it is, isn't it? Legislative advocacy workshop discussion in ways of how do we go about working with that legislative agenda. And then the plan is then to meet with our legislators in December prior to that work session going forward. So that's sort of the plan of where we're going at this point. The other thing is people should know there is an election tomorrow. Please vote. I think that's important. And lastly, on a sad note, as many of you might be aware, that Senator Andy Hill did pass away last week. We have had many opportunities to work with him, and we offer our condolences to his family at this point in time. We just wanted to make sure that we were all aware of that. Then that would be it for legislative.
Yeah, and I second that. Andy was really engaged with the district, and we'll miss him greatly. Okay, so next, board follow-up or future agenda items. I'm going to roll those two together. Anything?
Mine could be one or either of those. With the ends results, we had spoken prior about writing up a summary of sort of what the discussion was around it, and Eric did draft one for the literacy one. So we do have that. I can go ahead and do one on the math as sort of that, but a piece we were trying to figure out was what was the process in which to bring that back to the board to have a consensus around it, and then the adoption. So we haven't really established what that process is. I've held some discussion with Tracy as to what might work. So I think we'll probably try to write that up and make it clearer and then get agreement with that and then go forward that way. But the idea would be that there's sort of just a wrap-up of that ends results in the discussion so that there's sort of a clear place where that is. But that would be the idea.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Great.
And thank you.
Yeah. Oh, if I can advertise other people doing in the future, it was actually a very good exercise to go back through the meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So.
No, I'm not done yet.
Oh, you're not?
Sorry.
Well, you should have let me know. You just did. Go for it.
The other piece for follow-up or possible future agenda items, we have done the self-assessment. Then we also have an action plan set in place. And that was based on the WASDA standards, the Washington School District Directors Association standards that were set forward. It would be nice to, at some point, actually touch base back on that and play that out. I don't know if that will be in January or when we could do that. So that's a component. At the same time, of sort of a follow-up, we did apply to WASDA to be a board of distinction. We have received notice that we have been given the board of distinction along with 25 other school districts in Washington state. So that is a great thing. It basically is we apply the standards and going forward, but coming with that, what I would say is there's a continued process because you look at 3 standards every year. And so I would look at how we build this into our work session, that we actually review one of those 3 standards for half an hour, discuss what that evidence is, and then we can put that together and go forward, but actually build it into a process of being able to look through those as we go, as that reflection can be very beneficial in the long run going forward. The equity and access information that we just did this evening, that's always a component of what you do for the boards of distinction and that concept going forward. So I think it's a good time for us to be able to look at that from a holistic view from the board and be able to go forward. So I would like to have that on the agenda, be it work session or how we build that in. I think that will be a value for us to be able to work through with those standards.
And actually, thank you for spearheading the board of distinction thing. It was a non-trivial effort. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so any other follow-up or agenda? Okay. Debrief or board member comments? Okay, so our upcoming board meeting schedule, our next board meeting will be in 2 weeks, November 20th. This is 2 weeks, right? Yeah. November 21st, here at 5:30. It'll be followed by a linkage session on special services at 6:15. Both of these meetings will be in this room. The linkage session ought to be I think it's going to be very interesting and fun. That's our upcoming schedule. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Eric, seconded by Siri. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned.